After 8 months of desperate searching that tested the very limits of a mother's unbreakable love, Alexandra Hamilton finally found her two young daughters, Casey and Chloe, thanks to a vigilant pilot who spotted their small figures on a supposedly uninhabited island off the coast of Western Australia, igniting a fierce determination for justice against the wealthy predators who had stolen their innocence, only for her to uncover the horrifying truth of a sophisticated child trafficking operation run by powerful elites on that remote paradise turned nightmare, where innocent children were photographed, manipulated, and traded like commodities in a web of corruption that reached far beyond isolated shores, echoing the dark underbelly of human exploitation seen throughout history from the transatlantic slave trade of the 16th to 19th centuries, where millions of lives were commodified across oceans for profit, to modern-day networks that exploit vulnerabilities in our globalized world. A stark reminder that power unchecked breeds monsters, yet one woman's relentless courage can illuminate the shadows and spark systemic change. As Alexandra sat protectively with her daughters in a safe apartment in Broome, their bodies warm against hers after the dramatic rescue on Jalogo Beach, social worker Maisie Colton's gentle voice guided the girls through careful disclosures. Other children in the luxurious house with big windows and a pool, an elephant-shaped tree at the entrance, weekly trips to a pastry shop filled with books as rewards for good behavior, men who took photos of hands, legs, and forced clothing changes while laughing to mass coercion, withholding food for refusal, all while promising holidays to reunite with parents if obedient, a psychological grooming tactic that twisted trust into compliance, much like historical indoctrination methods used in wartime propaganda or cult dynamics documented in 20th century psychological studies by figures like Robert Lifton on thought reform. Alexandra's heart constricted with visceral horror as Casey and Chloe's small voices revealed the extent of their trauma, their fidgeting fingers and tense bodies bearing silent testimony to 8 months of separation and manipulation, yet their bravery in speaking up planted seeds of healing, teaching the philosophical wisdom that truth, though painful, liberates the spirit, echoing Socrates' ancient assertion that the unexamined life is not worth living, or how English language learners must confront uncomfortable grammar complexities like past perfect continuous had been enduring, to accurately narrate prolonged struggles, building resilience through precise expression that turns personal pain into empowering stories shared globally. Detectives later confirmed the island's ownership by the wealthy Corey family, inherited by eldest son Darren Corey after internal conflicts a decade prior, with apprehended accomplices Mike Stanton and Billy Connor tied to his operation. A wooden box of brass necklaces engraved with children's names served as grotesque souvenirs, while Corey's flight to Sweden, later revealed as fabricated, complicated extradition, mirroring historical cases like Nazi war criminals fleeing to South America via Ratlin's post-World War II, where elite networks shielded perpetrators until persistent justice seekers exposed them. Alexandra's resolve hardened like tempered steel as she vowed to use every resource against these predators, her voice steady. Despite breaking emotions, connecting to universal wisdom that justice demands not just retribution but restoration, much as modern English advocacy, mastering persuasive rhetoric with idioms like fight tooth and nail, meaning to struggle with maximum effort, derived from animalistic ferocity, empowers voices against systemic abuse in our interconnected era of social media campaigns and international human rights law. This chapter of unimaginable loss and miraculous reunion unfolds as an inspiring journey of maternal ferocity, where Alexandra's search across vast Australian landscapes, reminiscent of 19th century explorers like Burke and Wills traversing the outback in search of survival amid isolation, symbolizes the human spirit's refusal to surrender, urging us all to examine our own uninhabited islands of unresolved grief or silenced truths. What hidden predator in your life, be it fear, injustice, or self-doubt, demands your courageous pursuit today, and how might embracing the advanced English skill of vivid storytelling transform your silent struggles into a beacon that protects the vulnerable and inspires collective healing? The legal battle intensified as Alexandra met her longtime friend and lawyer Melissa Trenton at a nearby cafe, recounting the girls' disclosures of coerced photos, withheld meals, and false promises of reunions, while police updates revealed Corey's arrogance in maintaining detailed records of bank transactions, client lists, and exploitation sites despite his feigned escape. A hubris echoing the downfall of historical tyrants like Roman Emperor Nero, whose meticulous, yet delusional documentation of excesses ultimately fueled his demise amid public outrage in 68 AD, or more recently the Panama Papers leaks of 2016 that exposed elite financial secrecy enabling modern trafficking rings. As Alexandra excused herself to the restroom, dread gripped her upon discovering a red-inked envelope on the mirror bearing her name with the chilling message, "The girls belong to us. Drop the legal case. We are watching you," followed by a masked figure in a black hoodie wielding a flip knife in the corner, an ambush that shattered any illusion of safety and propelled her screaming back into the cafe, triggering police response under Officer Ben's command. Yet the immediate search yielded only a confused regular customer, the hooded assailant vanishing like smoke. Reminiscent of phantom threats in espionage tales from the Cold War era, where KGB operatives used misdirection and public spaces for intimidation. This incident threw Alexandra's family into renewed danger, her protective instincts flaring as she rushed to the adjacent arcade where Pilot Roger, the ex-military hero whose binoculars had first spotted the girls on the island, kept watchful eyes on Casey and Chloe playing claw machines, their faces alight with rare joy clutching a blue dolphin plush toy. A tender moment contrasting the surrounding peril and highlighting emotional development through small acts of normalcy that rebuild shattered trust, much like how English learners progress from fragmented sentences to fluent narratives by layering descriptive details, heart-pounding with visceral horror, and advanced structures like conditionals. If she hadn't screamed, the threat might have escalated. Roger's steady. Despite breaking emotions, connecting to universal wisdom that justice demands not just retribution but restoration, much as modern English advocacy, mastering persuasive rhetoric with idioms like fight tooth and nail, meaning to struggle with maximum effort, derived from animalistic ferocity, empowers voices against systemic abuse in our interconnected era of social media campaigns and international human rights law. This chapter of unimaginable loss and miraculous reunion unfolds as an inspiring journey of maternal ferocity, where Alexandra's search across vast Australian landscapes, reminiscent of 19th century explorers like Burke and Wills traversing the outback in search of survival amid isolation, symbolizes the human spirit's refusal to surrender, urging us all to examine our own uninhabited islands of unresolved grief or silenced truths. What hidden predator in your life, be it fear, injustice, or self-doubt, demands your courageous pursuit today, and how might embracing the advanced English skill of vivid storytelling transform your silent struggles into a beacon that protects the vulnerable and inspires collective healing? The legal battle intensified as Alexandra met her longtime friend and lawyer Melissa Trenton at a nearby cafe, recounting the girls' disclosures of coerced photos, withheld meals, and false promises of reunions, while police updates revealed Corey's arrogance in maintaining detailed records of bank transactions, client lists, and exploitation sites despite his feigned escape. A hubris echoing the downfall of historical tyrants like Roman Emperor Nero, whose meticulous, yet delusional documentation of excesses ultimately fueled his demise amid public outrage in 68 AD, or more recently the Panama Papers leaks of 2016 that exposed elite financial secrecy enabling modern trafficking rings. As Alexandra excused herself to the restroom, dread gripped her upon discovering a red-inked envelope on the mirror bearing her name with the chilling message, "The girls belong to us. Drop the legal case. We are watching you," followed by a masked figure in a black hoodie wielding a flip knife in the corner, an ambush that shattered any illusion of safety and propelled her screaming back into the cafe, triggering police response under Officer Ben's command. Yet the immediate search yielded only a confused regular customer, the hooded assailant vanishing like smoke. Reminiscent of phantom threats in espionage tales from the Cold War era, where KGB operatives used misdirection and public spaces for intimidation. This incident threw Alexandra's family into renewed danger, her protective instincts flaring as she rushed to the adjacent arcade where Pilot Roger, the ex-military hero whose binoculars had first spotted the girls on the island, kept watchful eyes on Casey and Chloe playing claw machines, their faces alight with rare joy clutching a blue dolphin plush toy. A tender moment contrasting the surrounding peril and highlighting emotional development through small acts of normalcy that rebuild. Shattered trust. Much like how English learners progress from fragmented sentences to fluent narratives by layering descriptive details, heart-pounding with visceral horror, and advanced structures like conditionals. If she hadn't screamed, the threat might have escalated. Roger's steady presence, offering to monitor the girls during the meeting, exemplified unexpected alliances in crisis, paralleling historical figures like Harriet Tubman, who guided escaped slaves through the Underground Railroad in the 1850s using coded signals and safe houses amid bounty hunters, teaching the universal wisdom that true strength often arrives through unlikely guardians, while in contemporary relevance, mastering English idioms such as keep an eye on, to watch carefully over someone, equips advocates to articulate protective communities against online grooming or trafficking that exploits digital isolation. The threatening note and vanishing attacker exposed the operation's tentacles. Wealthy predators with connections enabling surveillance and intimidation, prompting heightened security measures, including Roger's military-grade alarms installed around the apartment. As Alexandra double-checked locks and curtains against the fading sunlight, her mind racing with philosophical reflections on power imbalances. How the elite, like feudal lords in medieval Europe who controlled serfs through fear and false promises, perpetuate cycles of exploitation unless disrupted by persistent truth-tellers, a lesson urging English speakers to wield precise vocabulary. Coercion, explained as forceful manipulation removing free will, in petitions, testimonies, and awareness campaigns that amplify silenced voices in our #MeToo and anti-trafficking movements. That night, after the girls slept entwined for comfort, Alexandra's restless thoughts drifted to her late husband David's beach ashes and the cruel succession of losses, yet Roger's vigilance and Ben's rapid response, with tracking devices planted during a hallway struggle, revealing the cafe woman's husband as the assailant, ignited hope, leading to a midnight raid capturing Darren Corey himself in a hidden room, his arrogance undone by panic, alongside evidence dismantling the network and rescuing other children from the elephant tree house described by Casey and Chloe. This chapter weaves an inspiring tapestry of vulnerability turning to empowered resistance, where Alexandra's journey from despairing searches across Australian deserts, echoing Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of ancestral perseverance through songlines mapping vast terrains, to confronting elite corruption mirrors the hero's path in Joseph Campbell's monomyth, encouraging personal growth through reflective English journaling that processes trauma into wisdom. How does facing an unexpected threat in your own cafe restroom moment reveal untapped courage, and what advanced English tool, like crafting conditional hypotheticals or vivid sensory descriptions, will you master today to transform personal peril into a universal call for justice that safeguards the innocent and honors the resilient human spirit? As dawn broke over Broome with police sirens fading into the distance after the dramatic arrests, Alexandra gathered her daughters close in the station waiting room, their small hands clutching the blue dolphin plush, while Maisie, the social worker, provided gentle distractions with hot chocolate, allowing the mother to absorb Ben's revelations. Corey's hidden room yielded airtight evidence, including photographic records of exploitation, client ledgers, and transaction trails that would ensure convictions, exposing not isolated crimes but a sprawling operation preying on vulnerabilities, much like the historical white slavery scandals of the early 20th century in Australia and Britain, where organized rings trafficked girls under guises of holidays or domestic service until reformers like Josephine Butler campaigned for legal reforms in the 1880s Contagious Diseases Act's repeal. The Milton couple's coerced involvement, their own daughter held as leverage for debt repayment, added layers of tragic moral ambiguity, illustrating how desperation warps ethics under duress, a philosophical teaching drawn from Aristotle's Ethics on virtue as habit formed in community rather than isolation, relevant today as English learners navigate nuanced discussions of gray areas. Using vocabulary like leverage, explained as using something for advantage, often unfairly, in debates on poverty-driven crime or systemic failures that enable trafficking in our borderless digital age. Roger's military-honed quick thinking in planting the tracker during the scuffle proved pivotal, transforming a nighttime attack into the breakthrough that located Corey, his ex-pilot's solitude yielding to purposeful alliance, evoking the bonds forged in World War II resistance networks where civilians and soldiers collaborated against occupying forces, teaching universal wisdom that isolation breeds defeat while interconnected kindness forges unbreakable chains of hope, paralleling how collaborative English practice groups accelerate fluency by sharing stories that build empathy and advance sentence variety, such as relative clauses, the pilot who spotted them, to connect ideas fluidly. Alexandra's emotional arc deepened from raw terror to cautious optimism as she processed the girls' budding trust in Roger and Ben. Their questions about friends from the Elephant Tree House met with assurances of ongoing rescues, highlighting children's innate resilience amid trauma. Much like young survivors of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami who rebuilt through community storytelling circles, or how English language acquisition fosters emotional intelligence by encouraging learners to articulate feelings with precise idioms like light at the end of the tunnel, hope after prolonged difficulty. The return to Queensland loomed as a sanctuary for healing, away from Broome shadows, yet Alexandra pondered the long road ahead. Testimonies, therapy, reclaiming normalcy, drawing philosophical strength from Stoic principles of Epictetus, who taught focusing on what is within control, effort, attitude, amid uncontrollable fates, a mindset modern English communicators adopt when tackling complex listening exercises or public speaking on social issues to project calm authority. This segment of the journey inspires by showing how one mother's unyielding pursuit dismantled a predator's empire, blending vivid character moments, Casey and Chloe's excited arcade joys contrasting hallway screams, Alexandra's trembling hands on evidence folders, with historical parallels to anti-slavery abolitionists whose petitions changed laws, urging viewers to reflect on modern relevance. In an era of encrypted apps facilitating hidden crimes, mastering English for advocacy, crafting emails, reports, or videos with transitional phrases like moreover for logical flow empowers ordinary people to expose injustice. What hidden room of complacency or fear in your life hides opportunities for courageous action? And how will dedicating time to advanced English structures, such as embedding philosophical quotes in personal narratives, equip you to become the unexpected hero who protects the vulnerable and weaves your story into humanity's enduring tapestry of justice and renewal? With Darren Corey and his accomplices secured behind bars, the evidence from his arrogant record sealing their fates in an airtight case that promised maximum sentences, Alexandra and her daughters prepared for the journey home to Queensland. The police arranged flights symbolizing not just physical relocation but emotional reclamation. Much like the Great Migration of African Americans from the Jim Crow South in the early 20th century seeking safety and opportunity northward, or post-World War. Two displaced persons rebuilding lives through international aid programs that emphasized community reintegration after collective trauma. Back in the apartment, as Roger helped pack while alarms stood sentinel, the girls' tentative questions about safety, will the bad men come again? Elicited Alexandra's gentle affirmations of protection through law and love, fostering emotional development where fear yielded to guarded hope, their bond with the dolphin toy a tangible anchor to joy rediscovered, illustrating how play therapy aids recovery in child psychology, a field advanced since pioneering work by Anna Freud in the 1920s on wartime evacuees. Philosophical teachings emerged in quiet bedtime reflections, Alexandra sharing stories of their late father David's beach legacy, teaching impermanence and gratitude drawn from Buddhist concepts of dukkha, suffering, balanced by mindfulness, relevant to English learners practicing reflective speaking with phrases like looking back on, to process past events coherently and build narrative coherence. Modern connections abounded as news of the bust spread, inspiring anti-trafficking awareness akin to the global campaigns following the Epstein scandals of the 2010s that exposed elite networks, urging vigilance in communities, while English proficiency enables participation through writing petitions or social media threads using connectors like Furthermore to sustain arguments against exploitation. Roger's decision to accompany them partway, his solitary pilot life enriched by this purpose, highlighted redemption through service, paralleling historical pilots like the Tuskegee Airmen who defied odds in World War II to prove valor, teaching that purpose transforms isolation into contribution. As the family boarded the plane, Alexandra gazed at the receding Western Australian coast where their nightmare began and ended, her heart swelling with the wisdom that justice, though delayed, prevails when ordinary voices persist, much as English mastery turns fragmented thoughts into powerful testimonies that rally support. This chapter celebrates the inspiring close of one battle while opening healing's horizon, where vivid moments, girls sleeping entwined, mother's steady hand on evidence, blend with universal truths to encourage growth. In what ways has a long search in your life revealed unexpected allies and inner strength, and how can honing advanced English skills, such as embedding historical analogies in storytelling, amplify your voice to prevent future darkness and nurture brighter futures for those who follow? Months after returning to their Queensland home, where familiar walls and David's scattered ashes on the beach offered both comfort and poignant reminders, Alexandra watched Casey and Chloe reclaim childhood fragments, collecting shells, playing arcade echoes in local malls, attending therapy sessions that unpacked their holiday deceptions, their laughter gradually filling spaces once hollowed by absence, a testament to human resilience mirroring the post-traumatic growth studied in survivors of historical atrocities like the Holocaust or Australian stolen generations, where storytelling and cultural reconnection rebuilt identities fractured by systemic evil. Legal proceedings advanced with Melissa's tenacious advocacy, Corey's detailed records ensuring convictions that sent ripples through elite circles, exposing corruption links investigated by Ben's team, much like the Nuremberg trials of 1945 to 1946 that held powerful figures accountable through meticulous evidence despite claims of following orders. Teaching the philosophical imperative of moral courage over blind loyalty, as articulated by Hannah Arendt in her Banality of Evil concept. Alexandra's emotional journey evolved from vigilant protector to empowered advocate, channeling pain into speaking engagements on trafficking prevention, using compelling English to explain terms like grooming, the process of building false trust for exploitation, and idioms such as break the cycle to stop repeating harmful patterns. Empowering audiences in workshops that connect personal narratives to global statistics on millions affected annually. Roger maintained contact, his visits bringing stability and arcade outings that symbolized reclaimed innocence, while the family's strengthened bonds illustrated universal wisdom from indigenous Australian Dreamtime lore, where ancestors' journeys through songlines map survival and connection, urging modern relevance. In our screen-dominated world, unplugging for meaningful conversations hones English listening skills and fosters empathy against digital isolation that predators exploit. Philosophical closure came in quiet reflections on the island's false paradise, affirming that true safety blooms from vigilance, community, and unyielding love, not wealth's illusions. This final chapter completes an inspiring odyssey of loss, discovery, danger, and renewal, blending character arcs with historical depth to inspire viewers toward proactive lives. What elephant-shaped tree, landmark in your personal history marks both pain and potential, and how will committing to daily English practice, crafting reflective essays with philosophical insights, empower you to break cycles of silence, protect the innocent, and author a legacy of justice that echoes far beyond your own shores?